Welcome to Tiny Game Chronicles episode 46. My name is Marcus, and here with my good friend Michael. Every other week, we discuss games that are quick plays, but epic journeys. It is great to see you today, Michael. How are you doing, my friend?
I am well. We are in the European heat wave, Marcus, and you might maybe hear a little bit of a sound. I have the aircon on just because without it, it's kind of impossible to do a show like this.
Yeah,
But you dressed up, Marcus. Rainy
it
weather where you are.
it is pouring. It's poured all weekend here, Michael. It's cold. Yes, I got my
Uh,
hoodie on. I'm trying to stay warm in the house. So I'm sure
Very
we
good.
would both rather swap positions a little bit
Yep,
right now.
100%. Yeah.
So, Michael, to get us started here, I do have a question for you.
Yes.
So I am curious, where were you in 1997? So, like, where were you in your life? Where were you physically in location? Like,
Oh,
let's
wow.
take ourselves back to 1997. What was going on with Michael?
So 1997, it's probably one of the hardest years in my life because I was 29. I was in retail. I was living in South Africa back then. I
Hmm.
think it was the year that I moved from Johannesburg to Durban because of my career to take over a new region and open up a flagship store. And it's also the year, Marcus, I got divorced from
Oh
my first
no!
wife. So 1997 is a year that's quite hard for me, and also maybe a year that brought about a lot of changes in my life. So yeah, a year that I won't forget. It's one of those formative years, I would say. But in South Africa, in a new city, Durban. Durban is on the eastern coast. It's also known as Little Mumbai, if that makes sense, because
Hmm.
there's a huge Indian community. I think the biggest Indian community in Africa settled down in Durban, and it was also a place where we opened up a flagship store, where I needed to find the right people, develop them, train them. So yeah, a formative year. Where were you in 1997, Marcus? And I'm curious.
Well, it was a pretty formative year for myself as well. That 1997 was the year I graduated high school
Ha.
and then
Okay.
went to university. So, this was, that transition from childhood to adulthood. I feel like 1997 is not, it's a pretty important time for our characters in
Yeah.
the whole plot of the game that we're going to be talking about today. I
Yep.
haven't mentioned it yet. The
Yep.
game is called 1997 Reloaded. And yeah, lots of change for me as well. More on the positive side. I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was you're divorced. Uh, yeah, so it was a lot of change for me. It was a kind of an opportunity for me to grow and almost. This sounds like a weird sort of blossom. What's a
Yeah,
better
good.
word than
Yeah.
blossom? Like, I don't know, just mature a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
To
yeah,
unfold your potential.
yeah, sure, that's better. I like that better. Better than blossom. Jeez. So
Uh,
yeah, no, it still made some really good friendships that
nice.
first year. We've talked about this in somewhat recent episodes of the
Yeah.
show, but friends that I still have today, don't not quite as in touch with them as I once was, but we still chat every once in a while. So
Nice.
yeah, 1997, Michael.
Woo.
An important year in both of our lives for very different
Absolutely.
reasons.
Yeah, I think I had the first thoughts, I think in 1997 about coming to Europe. So
Okay.
I think I followed up with a visit to Düsseldorf. So I live kind of close to Düsseldorf at the moment
Hmm.
in 1998 to kind of visit one of my aunts. And she then was the bridge, right? That helped me, start my life in Germany. So it was, I think, without her backing and her support for the first 6 months, she kind of gave me this ability that I needed, right, with regards
Mm,
to just a fixed place, that I could stay in and find out things also about myself because she knew me as a baby. So it was interesting to hear those aspects. Yeah,
for sure, for sure.
yeah.
Okay, Michael, before we get into discussing our game today, we did want to mention our previous episode for the game Forbidden Solitaire, a game
Ooh,
that both of us really enjoyed, I would say. Um, I wouldn't have expected to enjoy a solitaire game as much as I did. Not without its faults, but pretty enjoyable experience overall.
I loved it. I think we had a lot of positive feedback on that episode as well. And yeah, if you grew up in that age of playing solitaire on your Windows 95 PC, then you should by all means give this one a go, because it's just a reinvention of the game, but truly enjoyable. Nice
Yeah.
one, Marcus. Yeah.
Okay, Michael, let's begin our discussion about 1997 Reloaded. Okay, so 1997 Reloaded released on PC on June 4th, 2026. It was developed and published by Gaigo Studio out of Italy.
Mhm.
In 1997 Reloaded, you follow the story of these three teenagers who are living in the UK: Marco, Federico, and Shirley. Both Marco and Federico are from Italy. They're studying in the UK for the summer.
Right.
And they purchase an answering machine at a flea market, and that contains this cryptic message from an enigmatic frontman of a rock band. His name is Andy Quinn, who happened to die in 1997 under mysterious circumstances. And then the three teens, of course, decide to investigate this murder, and it takes them to New York and Los Angeles as they attempt to piece together the final days of Andy Quinn.
So Andy had a slightly worse year than I did in 1997.
He did. Yes, he did. 1997 Reloaded is described as a kinetic visual novel. It's largely presented as a visual novel with still images that you click through, but there's sound effects, occasional animations. There are also a handful, I think there's three sections where there are mini games as well that you play. And I did want to make note, we mentioned it on last week's episode, we did receive codes for this one as well. So, you can take our opinions with a grain of salt, but we did receive codes for this one. Michael, we started off our discussions by asking ourselves three questions. What platform did you play it on? How long did it take you to beat? And what are some high-level thoughts you have about the game?
So I played it on PC. It took me over 7 hours. There's a reason for that, which we'll get into. So I spent as much time as possible with this game. It definitely can be completed in a shorter amount of time. And I must say, Marcus, that this game reminded me of two other games that we've discussed and played before. The one is Mixtape, because we also have three protagonists, as we have it here, right, with 1997 Reloaded. It's obviously a different type of adventure, as well as a musical story that we also reviewed a bit earlier in the year. And I must say that this is not a game that you play. It's a game or a story that you sit inside, because this is what a kinetic visual novel is. I, first of all, did not know what kinetic means. Now I know, right? So the fact that you have no choices and that you are a passenger, and for this story, this is exactly the right thing. There is a bet on the writing, the art, and the music, and there's no safety net, right? So with regards to choices that you need to make or replay, there are some mini choices with regards to maybe a specific character that you follow for a chance, but it can be, you can rewind and replay certain sections if you want to go a different route. Top level thoughts here, Marcus, is what I find remarkable about this game is that this is made by two Italian sisters, and they bring completely different disciplines to the table. So one is Martha Agostini. She's a musician, she's a music editor, and the person who was in contact with us was Olivia Agostini. She's a novelist and filmmaker, and both are responsible for the story architecture, the character, Roxy Doom, which we'll meet, which is the central character that they've written about before. And this is kind of a second telling of the story that they're writing about, which they did, or they ran Cass Comics, which is like self-published comics. So they actually from the comic industry per se. This is kind of their roots, and they're not really game developers. But they're two artists that decided that the game was the right vessel, the right channel to continue telling their story. And so, to be totally honest, I mean, occasionally the story is a little bit uneven, at least from my perspective, but it definitely is worth your time if storytelling matters to you. There are some rough edges with regards to expressions and grammars. I think this game is unapologetically Italian, if that makes sense, right? And I think you need to see how Italians express themselves in English, if that makes sense, right? So, and I think just grace needs to be given there, and by all means, they deserve that grace. So, Marcus, those are my top line thoughts. What about you?
Yeah, so I also played on PC. I mean, it was going to be in the PC ecosystem, but not Steam Deck verified. I think you had kind of given me the heads up early on before I had started it that there is some of those mini games require you to be typing on a keyboard, which is not super I don't know, fun on a Steam Deck.
Steam Deck.
So I did play it on my laptop. My old laptop had no issues running it. It didn't, no slowdown, no issue. So it was fine. I mean, it's not my preferred way to play, but that's okay. How long it took me to beat? Quite a bit shorter than you. I looked at my Steam clock, 3.8 hours, Michael. And there's
Very
a couple
good.
of reasons for that. I think we played the game very differently. I was very engaged in the story and wanted to kind of get to that next level line of dialogue. So I didn't, the music for me, I think, which is, we're going to get into a bit more, but you had mentioned to me that you sat with a lot of the music to kind of listen to that. That was background for me, which is because I was engaged with the story. So I was moving on, next, I wanted to find out what actually happened. High level thoughts, I've kind of, I guess, already touched on it. I enjoyed this game more than I was expecting to. This is like on the surface, this is very much a Michael game and very not so much a Marcus game. I'm not a big fan. I'm not generally the biggest fan of visual novels. There are some that I can vibe with. And I was a little worried going into this. And perhaps because my expectations were a little on the lower side, but it definitely exceeded my expectations. I found this game to, despite the fact that it's on a digital medium, it was like a page turner for me. Like I really wanted to get to know what was happening next. I found the characters were a little bit hard to keep track of initially, and I was a little worried. I was like, I'm not quite sure who's this person, who's that person. A lot of names kind of initially, but that all gets ironed out fairly early enough that I had no issue following the story. So that is my high level. I think I'll leave that at there for now, and we'll get into things a little bit deeper as we go.
Pause.
So I just want to pause. Yeah. So I don't. When you stop talking, the air conditioner goes way loud. I don't know what it is, but your mic might be filtering out when you're talking. But it goes like it's like a huge. Is it close to the mic at all?
No, it's
Can you get
far,
it to the other?
but what I'll do is I'll actually put it off. I'll put it off.
Okay.
Because I notice, that's why I quickly pause. I notice it's quite loud, right?
Yeah.
The question is, should we start again?
No. It's I can edit it out because it's not bad when you're talking.
Okay.
Because your mic must pick up your voice. But when you're silent, I can hear it really loud for me.
Okay, gotcha.
I saw you doing something, so I wasn't sure if you muted yourself.
Because I noticed that something is being recorded, but I'm not saying anything, right?
So, yeah. That's what it is.
Okay, give me a sec.
Yeah. Oh, they're so much better. So much better. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So you kind of get used to like a baseline level of humming, and then you don't even realize how much it's there until it's gone. Okay, we can hop right back into it.
Let's do it.
Okay. Hopefully we get that. We'll kind of get through this quickly before you start adding beads of sweat coming down your forehead.
Tell me when you notice. Funny.
Okay. Okay, a brief reminder about how we talk about games on Tiny Game Chronicles. We like to identify 3 things that we think particularly stood out about a game and do a deeper dive discussion on each of those 3 things. They can be good things, they can be bad things. They're usually mostly good things. And, we look at our standouts as the things that we're going to remember about a game, a year or two down the road. So that's how we look at our standouts. And then no spoilers. This is obviously a pretty narrative heavy game. We're not going to get into other than story setup, we're not going to get into any of the details about the narrative. So if you haven't played 1997 Reloaded, you'll be safe to listen to this one. Okay, Michael, let's get into our standouts for 1997 Reloaded. And the first thing, I think it's kind of the first thing that you see, is the art style. It's very distinct. I actually liked it a lot. And I think that one of the things that it does is it's kind of, how should we describe it? I mean, maybe you've got a better way, but I was like, it's almost like there are the character models are very distinct and striking, like sharp lines and bold colors. A lot of the backgrounds, though, are almost kind of like photographs that have been blurred a little bit.
You're 100% right, Marcus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very, and it's something that just stands and jumps right off when you first look at it. And I like a distinct art style, and it seems like there's a lot of games that I don't know, they tempt something that doesn't always work. I think this one worked for me. Pretty cool.
So you hit it on the spot when you mentioned that the background looks like photographic, and it's actually true. So every background that we have is actually a real photograph.
I couldn't tell, I couldn't tell. Like, I tried to look, and I was like, it looks like a photograph, but everything is blurred. It could have been drawn.
Yeah.
And yeah, okay. So this is confirmed.
They actually took photographs of real streets, real subways, real diners, the diner counter. And then what they do is the characters are drawn on top of the photograph with kind of those bold, loose, colorful lines, right? That you mentioned. And so something comes forth that is a mix between a graphic novel and a fashion illustration. So I studied art, so this is at least something that I was exposed to. I was also quite a few years in the fashion industry. I've worked and taught future fashion designers. So fashion illustration was a topic. And so this definitely has a history, and it comes from the Dadaist movement from the 1920s. And the idea here was that artists placed a drawn figure over a real photograph to kind of create a gap or a tension. So something that is fixed and immovable, if you put something that is hand-drawn over it, there is a tension or a reconstruction or interpretation that takes place in between that space, right? Between your lines that you're drawing over the picture, right? And I think that this is something that they did on purpose because it carries a meaning. Now, there are in this game over 2,000 illustrations. So it just kind of shows you the amount of work that went into this visual novel. And I think here it's critical to mention that it's all handmade. There is no AI here that they used, and that is a choice that they've made, a real ethical statement, right? Very much like, if you remember Banksy,
Sure.
the artist that we see stenciled figures over real buildings, real walls, bridges, or whatever. That's the kind of idea that they took further. So Marcus, yeah, that's the art that we are exposed to, and I loved it because it was very distinctive, very honest, and I think within the first few seconds of getting involved in the story, this is something that just, at least it grabbed me and caught my attention.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's very distinct. I think that I like the comparison that you made. I don't have a background in fashion, but the character models very much do look like, I don't know, those sketches that you see when somebody is doing new designer clothing of some sort, and
Correct.
Yeah, very much so. So I like that. I like that call out. yeah, I think that's art, right? That's
Absolutely.
the yeah.
Well
Um,
done.
very well done on that one. Okay, let's move on to standout item number 2, and that is, a big piece of this game, the music. So obviously, um, music plays a central theme. Andy Quinn is a front man of a band. What was the name of the band again, Michael? Alias Insane? Was that what it was?
Alias Insane, exactly.
Alias
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
Um,
Alias
uh,
hyphen insane, right? Yeah.
yes,
A forward
yes,
slash. Yeah, wait, sorry, not
yes,
the hyphen.
yeah,
Forward
that's
slash.
right.
There we go.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
forward slash insane. There's a reason for that. They go into
Mm.
it actually in the
Mm.
in the game. Um, and yeah, so obviously there's a lot of music. Like I said, for me, the music, I didn't dislike it, but I wasn't necessarily compelled to kind of like sit with it. And part of the reason I think was because, like I said, I was enjoying the story, so I was like, okay, let's just move on. And so the music kind of was very much more a background thing for me, but it wasn't for you.
No, so I really approach this like we approached a musical story a musical story is more of a rhythm game. And so it's all about, learning, looking, watching for the patterns so that you don't miss a beat, if that makes sense. And I kind of took the learnings from that here as well, because I think I have a very eclectic music taste. And I know that alternative rock definitely was a thing in the 90s. And what really impresses me here is that the entire soundtrack, um, are from fictional artists. These artists that are in the visual novel. They're not from real bands, so that is one aspect. But they're also performed by real professional singers, and one of them is Jesse Wagner. So if you look up Jesse Wagner, you will see that she worked with Lenny Kravitz and Duran Duran. So she's one of the central voices, also one of the voices of a central character that you meet later on in the story. And so the music is composed, mixed, and produced by both sisters, both Olivia and Martha, and in their own studio in Genoa. So every note that this game has is in house, it's house made. And I think this is one of the different aspects why perhaps you, Marcus, finished sooner than I did, and I took a little bit longer, is I decided to stay with the music a little bit more over and above it being as a background sound to the story as the story was being revealed. So the game is inviting you to stay and not necessarily move on, because the longer you stay, you realize that the song opens up. There are new layers. There is an arrangement that deepens. Things that always are there are slowly but surely revealing to yourself. It's like if you, I mean, I'm not sure if you experience music that way, Marcus, but I would imagine you should. It's the first time you listen to a new album and you say, well, it's okay. You maybe expected something else. But the more you listen to it, kind of more you tend to like it and discover new aspects of it. And the things is kind of the same invitation that there is here. And maybe that's also one of the things that I appreciate about jazz music, right? Because jazz musicians say that the real secret of the music is in the spaces in between.
Mm,
And yeah, so I think if you kind of stay, you will discover by the fourth or fifth listen what are the counter melodies underneath. What is the space between the notes, which you might miss if you just listen to the surface, right? So, and I mean, what is really great is the two sisters have developed a fictional discography. Sorry for the pronunciation. So each track has to carry a character's personality. And so there is a made-up fictional back catalog of these fictional artists, but where the music is pretty real. So again, I think this is where they shine, not only in the telling of the visual novel, but also applying the music to it. Is there anything musically that landed for you, Marcus? Or was it a collection of B-sides? If
Yeah,
that
no,
makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, like I didn't dislike the music, but
Okay.
I didn't stay on it
Okay.
like you did.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, was there anything in the music that added narratively, like in terms, like I'm thinking like more
Yes.
literally, like lyrically, was there, or was it
I
more just a
think I
feeling?
think so it does not take the story further, but it talks about a state of mind a character went through.
Okay.
And I think this state of mind comes across clearly through the music.
Mm.
Obviously, one of the things that, and we're going to go into the Roxy verse just now, but maybe we can just touch upon it here, is that alternative rock had the opportunity to meet with R&B, to meet with jazz, to meet with soul. And so some of the aspects that we have here is what happens when there is a crossover between what we consider different genres today, and how do they feed and enrich each other. And so this is an interesting concept, right? Because we think so much of music in different classes, but as soon as we start mixing, and we have it in gaming as well, right? So, what is an RPG, right? So, an RPG, a pure RPG, is kind of difficult to keep apart these days. And, we love spending time defending whether something is or is not an RPG, Final Fantasy 16. So it's kind of the same here, right? So it's the invitation of, or imagining what would have happened if these different genres could have fit from each other. Yeah, and so this is the idea that you get when you stay with a song a little bit longer, right?
Mm. Okay, so I don't know. I mean, I feel like I don't know. The what you've experienced doesn't sound for me that I missed that much. Like
Okay,
for me it
okay,
was really that,
good.
again, that story that was driving me forward, and I don't know that necessarily sitting. So I guess, like, depending on the type of gamer that you are and what is more important to you, you could take either path and still get a satisfying
100%.
experience, I guess, is where I would
100%.
go.
Yeah,
I
100%.
think
You could go through it fast, kind of stay with the story, or you can
yeah.
take a glass of wine with a few slices of cheese,
Yeah, I
and listen
also
to that song a
I
little bit
think I
longer, right?
appreciate the musical story comparison a little more
Yeah,
so
yeah,
now,
yeah.
because other than them being music games, I didn't necessarily see it, but the way you're describing it is a very similar sort of a musical story. Has no lyrics by
Correct,
and large for most of the
correct,
songs, and you're kind of,
correct.
it's more eliciting a feeling
Yeah,
and sort of kind of like inferring
without
narrative
vocals. Correct.
without actual, like, literal, dialogue or
Yeah,
whatever, right?
yeah, yeah,
Um,
100%.
Before we move on to our next standout, I did also want to just do a quick shout out because there wasn't really anywhere else to put it, but just, I guess, sound design. It's not really music, but there are a lot of sound effects that are added, I think, that do fit well. I was just thinking of, like, raindrops, if there's, it's
City sounds.
city sounds. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
like, it kind of helps you put yourself into the place. And I think that's, a plus in terms of the storytelling that they do here too. So
I.
definitely wanted to shout that one out.
Yeah, I think that definitely there's a feeling that they went to different parts of the city and pressed record and recorded those city sounds. Yeah, which is
Like,
yeah,
it's not yes,
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
would agree.
That's very real.
Um,
Yeah,
okay, so you've touched on it already. You've introduced it a little bit. Our third standout is I guess, the setting of this Roxy verse that
yeah,
the developers have created here, and this is like an alternate timeline where grunge never existed, and
correct.
Los Angeles is the epicenter of the 1990s alt rock universe.
Scene. Exactly.
Yeah. And
Exactly.
so I think that they've done a lot of things, and what I wanted to touch on with regards to the Roxyverse is, like, this alternate history situation, and kind of like similar characters and things that they've changed the names of, and, like, Roxy, I guess it's Roxy Doom, which I didn't realize, Michael, you said, is a character from other works that they've done, probably a
Correct.
graphic novel or
Previous work.
something.
Exactly. Yeah.
She's Courtney Love to me. This is
Oh, she
Courtney Love.
definitely is. Man, oh, wonderful that
Yeah.
you mentioned. I immediately had to think of Courtney Love, which
Yeah.
obviously she has to do with the grunge movement that didn't exist, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
as partner of Kurt Cobain, yeah,
Yeah,
um,
and obviously just maybe to before you get going here, there's
yeah,
also some characters from the hip hop scene
correct.
in that was a very prominent storyline that happened, that
Yep,
existed, and
correct.
where there were some deaths, and
Yes.
it they're not the characters, they're not exactly the characters, but it's definitely playing off of those real life events.
The whole East Coast, West
That's
Coast kind
exactly.
of hip hop wars that happened. I
Yeah,
immediately had to think of that
yeah, for sure.
as I played through the story. Um, to be honest, so because I'm a little bit older and because I was exposed to music in the 70s, I would say beginning of the 70s, so kind of very much still rock. But Roxy Music as a term came to me, Marcus, and I was wondering whether Roxy Verse and Roxy Music, there was a link between the two, right? Before we move on with the grunge aspect of it. So I approached Olivia directly and asked, "Hey, does Roxy Verse have anything to do with Roxy Music, per se? So was it an inspiration, right? So Brian Ferry, Avalon, the album that came out in 1982, kind of preempts what happens in the 90s." And I'm just going to read what she said because I think she said it beautifully. So she said, "That's a nice connection, and as a critic, you can feel free to see a bit of that in the Roxyverse. But the real definition of the Roxyverse stands in the universe of Roxy Doom. So Roxy is the epicenter of this world. So we dedicated, our first graphic novel to her story, and she returns in Andy Quinn's story as well. That said, we love Roxy music, right? So because Brian Ferry back in the days kind of really stood like an avant-garde type of character with regards to what Roxy music stood for, the glamour that pop had, the aesthetic feeling that it had. Um, and now I'm gonna go over to the bridge of grunge. So meeting wife number two. I said farewell in the opening thoughts of wife number one, right? So Patricia, my wife, she's a real grunger. So I think, had I not known her or met her, I maybe wouldn't have gotten so deep into the grunge movement per se. So, and obviously the grunge movement, you can only but think of Kurt Cobain. The album Nevermind sold 30 million copies, and everything changed within 18 months because 1997, as you mentioned, Marcus, paints a picture of us to imagine what would it be like if grunge never happened. Now, my wife loved Nirvana. It's a landmark record. It sold over 30 million copies. However, the people in power in the music industry, let's put it that way, they didn't fall in love with Nirvana per se, but they fell in love with the financial success that the band had. And so they absorbed the music to extract the profit. And so we kind of see that the infrastructure, the kind of indie movement, died a little bit of a death because that independent aspect, was not wanted if you could not categorize something. So if you were able to extract worth, compartmentalize, categorize, maybe looking at the power of that radio had, we're looking at the professionalization of the music industry. They were able to invest a whole bunch of money if you could secure growth, if you could secure profit, from specific artists, from people that were asked to play radio-friendly music. And I think this is the statement, what the Roxyverse is all about. So what if none of that actually had happened? What if alternative rock kept following its own curiosity, crossed over into jazz, into soul, into R&B, into hip hop? I mean, the Beastie Boys did maybe a little bit of that, right, with regards to who they were, but also being very, very commercial. So I think this is the question that the two sisters are trying to raise. And the question that they were asking, which is putting forth the voice of the necessity of independent thought, of independent music, and of the underground. Right, we see a lot of the underground in the game as well, with underground clubs being visited. I remember attending in South Africa underground parties where I got, I don't know, secret tickets to some concerts. I'm not sure, Marcus, in your university days, did you have something similar?
No, nothing like that.
Okay.
No. It was too small of a town I think. I mean, maybe I just wasn't in the right scene, Michael. I don't know, but yeah, no, nothing like that for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did the Roxyverse land for you at all, Marcus, in any way?
Well, again, probably not. Like, again, listeners are going to be pretty. I'm not nearly as deep on these things as you are. So I like the alternate timeline. I like
Okay.
it whenever any storyteller of any form kind of like does kind of a tweak, and like we go back in history and we get to see kind of like a different version of thing, and that's what is done here.
Exactly.
But the depth, other than that, like, it's kind of a cool sort of thing. I like just the little play on things. Like, we get to see some movies as an example.
Yeah.
There's a filmmaker in here, and there's a movie called Verity Fakes as an example.
Yes.
Verity Fakes. It's a play on Reality Bites. I'm certain of it, right? You look at the description and it's not exactly the same plot or anything like that, but like there's 3 characters on the cover of the movie poster, just like there is like Reality Bites is one of my, a fave of mine. So I was like, oh my god, it just the amount of syllables. Verity Fakes, Reality Bites. It's the same. It's not. I don't know. I like little things like that. That's kind of cool to be able to pick out references of things that that you think that the storyteller is playing on. So that's kind of what I liked about this kind of alternate timeline Roxyverse sort of situation. I didn't kind of go into it maybe as deep as you did in terms of like the musical thing, but we each again can take away our own experiences.
100%.
Okay, Michael, I guess that's it for our standouts. We didn't get any community standouts for this one, but if for future games, if you are interested in sharing your standouts and have them read on the show, Michael will put a call out in our Discord and on social media. So if you happen to have played the game, play it along with us, and we'd be happy to share your thoughts on your standouts for the game we're playing on the show. Okay, Michael, last thing we need to do we recommend the game? And if so, to whom?
So I would say I would recommend this with honesty rather than just pure enthusiasm, because it's not a game for everyone. I think if you've heard us rattle with regards to the standouts, I think make a decision whether this is for you. I think that if you do appreciate music and you enjoy visual novels, this definitely is a must. That you need to go through. You can go through it in very different ways. So there are no choices. No, there's no traditional gameplay as we would have it normally in a game. And you can play it like Marcus, like with, you finish it in around about 4 hours, or you can sit a little bit more with the music, either with a beer or wine, weather allowing. And it could take you a little bit longer. And I think it's a great combination of reading what the novel has to say as well as listening. And I think with regards to the grammar and the little vocabulary slips that might be here and there, I think just be graceful, because it's, as I said, it's unapologetically Italian. And if you like going to galleries and you like looking at a painter's picture, and kind of see what the painter has buried in the background. And this is the type of experience. It invites you to look past the first layer. It wants that type of attention. And as Roxy Doom says, truth is what you want to believe to be true. And I think
Hmm.
this is the invitation that the game invites you to experience. And it definitely earns its place. It's made entirely by people who are indies by heart. And I think that this game oozes every single heartbeat of what it means to be independent. So it definitely has my recommendation, Marcus. Yep. What about you?
Yeah, I would qualified recommendation. I think like
Yeah.
like I said right off the top, I was a little worried going into this one because visual novels are not my thing.
Mm.
I liked it more than I was expecting, or worried that I might not enjoy it. So I did like it. I think the story is compelling. We haven't really touched on it at all, but it's basically
Mm.
like a murder mystery sort of situation, and you're getting
Yeah.
bits and pieces of the story throughout, and you get a resolution. And I thought that part of it was compelling. You've mentioned the it's quite evident that the creators of this, English is not their first language.
Yeah.
And I think like there are moments for sure when that takes you out a little bit of the dialogue or the writing, but it wasn't so much to like completely turn me off. Like
Mm.
I think it was more just like oftentimes I found like maybe it was just the word choice was like, yes, maybe that might be literally or grammatically correct. It's
Mm.
just not the choice of that I think anybody that I know would say. And so
Yeah.
like it takes you out of it for the moment, but you get the gist. It's not like it makes things confusing. Like everything makes sense, and so you just keep moving on. And like I said, I think that you know I wish I could speak another language. So like I am always in awe of people like yourself who speak multiple languages and are able to communicate effectively. So, I'm certainly not going to hold that too much against you, but be aware that, some of the English translation is probably not as crisp as what it could be.
Mm.
But the story is compelling, and I think
Yeah.
like um my biggest thing with visual novels, Michael, is I tend to fall asleep while I'm playing them
Yeah.
because there's not enough
Yeah.
gameplay to keep me engaged. That
Exactly.
wasn't an issue here. So I think
Yeah.
that says something that,
Something about the story. Yeah, the quality of the
100%.
story. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
And I do
love.
like a murder
Yeah.
mystery. So like that
100%.
that I think helped too.
And I must
Um
say, I love the ending. Although as much as we said that this game is Italian, the ending feels very French to me, if that makes sense.
mm,
If you're familiar with French movies, this definitely has a
okay.
very French ending. So
Oh, okay,
non-Italian
interesting.
at all. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
So.
mean, like you said off the top, I think that this is a game for people that enjoy music,
Mm.
enjoy visual novels, or even
Mm.
for somebody like myself, just like enjoys a good mystery story.
Mm.
But if those things, there's very limited gameplay here. If that's if gameplay is a first thing for you, then you know maybe not for you. But like again, for somebody that doesn't like visual novels to enjoy the story as much as I did, I think that says something. So
Absolutely.
um, so yeah, I'm glad that we played it. It was a decent time. I think I played it over 3 sittings, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So,
Okay.
um,
That's about the same here. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, Michael. I guess that wraps up our discussion on 1997 Reloaded. Um, a little bit of housekeeping before we move on. Let me say that again. I fucked that
All
up.
good.
Okay, so that's it for episode 46 on our episode 1997 Reloaded. A little bit of housekeeping before we wrap things up here. Of course, we would really appreciate it if you shared, liked, subscribed, and left us a 5-star review wherever you happen to be listening. Aside from that, you can follow me on Blue Sky at Marcus O'Neill 79. You can follow the show on Blue Sky at Tiny Game Chronicles. You can also find me on the 2 other podcasts that I do. Hype Factor, a fantasy critic podcast that I do with my good friend John. That's a monthly show where we talk all things fantasy critic. And then the other show is called Brothers from Another Mothership, or BFAM for short, where me and 3 good friends of mine, Ron, Matt, and Quag, we get together and talk about various topics in gaming. Most
Mm.
recently, we did an episode on where we did a bracket for the worst video game features. And I was not super happy with what ended up winning that one, Michael.
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil it, but I was
Yeah.
surprised that you came with that result. Totally.
Yes. Yes. Anyways, where can people find you, Michael?
So you can also find me on Blue Sky under Drellesh, DRELLESH, and I'd love for you to connect, as well as on our Discord. The link to our Discord will be in our show notes. You're welcome to join our tiny community. And we are also on YouTube. So we'd love a subscription on YouTube. We haven't been on YouTube for very long, about 6 months. So if you can get love, a little bit of love on YouTube, we would really appreciate it.
Yes, please like, subscribe on YouTube. We're putting largely unedited episodes over on YouTube. So if you want to see kind of like the raw footage, that's basically it on YouTube. And then we also do some shorts for each episode on YouTube as well. You can also find us, Michael, on So Many Games. So we are
That's
writing
true.
articles once a month on somanygames.co.uk, where we feature a game that we've covered on the show and do basically like a written version of the podcast, kind of with a little bit changes here and there. But the most recent article that we posted over there is for Duck Detective: The Secret
Correct.
Salami.
The
It's an
Secret
episode we
Salami,
do
which is
a
great.
few episodes ago. Yeah. Okay, Michael, the last thing that we need to do is introduce our next game.
Dun dun dun.
So this one was developed and published by Fulbright in 2017. It is set aboard a high-tech space station in the year 2088, where you explore every detail of how the station's crew lived and worked, finding clues that add up to a gripping story of trust, fear, and resolve in the face of disaster.
Can it be Duck Detective in space, Marcus?
I hope not. What's the name of our next game, Michael?
It is Tacoma.
Tacoma. This one's been on my radar for years at this point. I've never played it. So it's been one of those things that I hadn't purchased it or anything, but it's just been one of those ones. I'd played Gone Home. Gone Home is a very well-known first title from this studio. And Tacoma, another tiny game from them, and looking to jumping in the next few days or so.
I think it promises a lot. It's actually one of the reasons why my wife and I started watching The Expanse from season 1. So because we just said, hey, space, like a space opera type of series might be good. And although I think we started in 2021 or so during Corona to watch it, we couldn't really get into it. So we started again. I think we only watched the first 2 episodes. My wife can't remember anything from the first 2. And I must say, I'm finding it really enjoyable at this stage. Yeah. So maybe an inspiration to also play Tacoma, if that makes sense. Right.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of our community will probably have played. It's been out since, almost 10 years now at this point. So I'm expecting a lot of standouts to be shared from our community members.
Yep.
Don't make me seem like a fool, listeners. You gotta send in your standouts.
See, the nice thing on Steam, I can already see who played this game.
There you go.
So
Michael's watching you.
I'm watching you.
Okay, Michael, I guess we can wrap things up there. I will just say thank you for listening, and we will be back in 2 weeks with Tacoma.
See you then.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.